From patreon.com/trouble. Getting good at Google. In my previous post about backlinks, I mentioned some tricks that you can use for doing Google searches to find the places that mention specific domain names. You might want to do this, for example, if you're doing backlink research. If you're trying to find places on the internet where you can build backlinks to your own website, it could be quite useful to look at the backlinks that point to another website that's similar to yours and think about whether it's possible for you to get links that are somewhat similar to the website that's doing well. So for these tests, I'm going to search for this and that. The cafe in Manchester that my friends run is a really delicious Indian cafe. If you're ever in Manchester in the Northern Quarter, you've got to try it. I run their website for them, so I'm quite familiar with the search results for them. So hopefully there won't be any crazy surprises here. So because I'm searching for the this and that cafe website, and I know their website domain is this and that cafe.co.uk, I can search for it in quotation marks like I did just then. By searching in quotation marks, it means that the results should include that phrase, this and that cafe.co.uk, exactly, which basically means places that are linking to the website. You can see here though that the results are largely the this and that website itself. They're all at https this and that cafe.co.uk. So if I wanted to only include results from a website, example.com, I can search for site example.com. And you'll see that there's not any results here because the site example.com doesn't mention this and that cafe.co.uk. If I want to exclude results from example.com, I can put -site :example.com. And now we're back to the previous results because example.com doesn't mention this and that cafe, so excluding it or including it doesn't make any difference. Hope this is making sense. So now we're back to the results that include a lot of mentions of the this and that website. If I want to exclude that website, I can put -site :this and that cafe.co.uk. Annoyingly, when you're using these kind of fancy search phrases, Google don't explain it to you in the search results. So you kind of have to know the tricks. But I'll put some links in the notes for this to places where you can find out other Google tricks. So by putting -site :this and that cafe.co.uk, I've excluded the results from this and that's own website. This means that the results that are showing now are purely the external websites that link to the this and that website. And if we have a look at these, they're kind of what you'd expect. We've got the Facebook page, bestmanchesterrestaurants.co.uk, confidentialguides.com, tasteofmanchester.com, yelp.com. So these are all kind of review websites or business listing websites, the kind of stuff that you would expect for a cafe. And you'll see here we've also got mankversusfood.wordpress.com, this and that, the best lunch in Manchester. This is a blog post that someone's done about this and that. These are really valuable backlinks. If you've got someone who's passionate about, for example here, the Manchester food scene, and then writes blog posts describing aspects of it and it includes your business, that's a really good signal to Google that your website is semantically related to the idea of the Manchester food scene, for example. So if I had a cafe in Manchester and I wanted to build some backlinks towards it, I might go through these results for the this and that cafe website and make note of the kind of websites that are showing up. Some of these will be really easy for me to get myself. So for example, with yelp.com, anyone can sign up for Yelp. It just takes a moment. Once you're signed up, you'll have a listing on there. And then ideally you want to get like this and that, encourage people to leave reviews on your Yelp listing page to get the stars. Other listings, like the Mank versus Food blog, will be trickier for you to naturally get unless you happen to know a load of food bloggers. But if you are running a cafe, for example, and someone gets in touch with you who wants to write on their food blog about your cafe, you should encourage that kind of stuff. And similarly, in terms of dealing with your suppliers and your customers, if someone wants to mention you on their website, then encourage that kind of behavior. You don't want to be paying each other for links. But a useful mention from someone who is passionate about the service that you provide is unbeatable. So another thing that's worth mentioning is that if you're not getting many results for the exact domain name, I can swap this out for the business name, this and that. And you'll see here, then I get results, and they don't necessarily have to mention the domain name of the business, but they're still about the cafe. And I'm kind of surprised that there's only results about the cafe showing up, because this and that you would think is a relatively common phrase. But I suppose Google knows that I'm in Manchester. If I wanted to get results that weren't personalized to Manchester, I could go to startpage.com, startpage.com. And this searches Google, but through a proxy, which means that Google don't know that I'm in Manchester. So let's see if I put here, this and that, I'll do the same thing, minus site, this and that, cafe.co.uk. So when I search on Start Page, I get the same results for the first page, because I suppose this and that is probably the most famous this and that in the world. But then on the third page, we're getting results for this and that, an animation song for children, this and that canine co that does treats and chews for pets. So if I wanted to exclude those kind of results, I might narrow this down by doing this and that, and then also Manchester in quotes. This is only going to include results now that include the phrase this and that, and also the phrase Manchester, which is only going to be results about the curry house. And you can see here I'm clicking through multiple pages, and it's all stuff about the curry place. So if you're wondering what kind of links are pointing to your competition or the websites that are doing well in your arena, or you're just curious about what kind of backlinks it's possible to have, then this can be a really good way to do it. By searching for the business name in quotation marks, maybe narrowing it down to a city in quotation marks, if you're getting lots of results for just a business name, and then excluding the results from the website itself by using minus site colon and then the site's domain name. Another trick that's worth showing you, I suppose, while I'm on here, is if I wanted to see all of the results from the website this and that cafe, I can strip this down to just site colon this and that cafe.co.uk. This will only include results from the website this and that cafe.co.uk. So I'll search here, and now you'll see all of the results are from this and that cafe.co.uk. So if you were curious about the places on a website that mention, for example, I'll search for the word vegan here. I can search for site this and that cafe.co.uk, then vegan, and it will tell me each of the pages on the this and that page that mention the word vegan. This can be a really good way to dig through a really large website to find the specific information that you're after. It can also be a good way to find out which pages of yours Google has indexed. If you search for site, your domain name, and then you find out that important pages aren't showing up, there's probably something wrong there, and you should log into Google Search Console, see my other video about that, and see if there's any messages showing up or any warnings, because every page on your website, in theory, ought to be indexed and showing in Google's search results if you use site ... This can get a bit tricky if you've got thousands and thousands of pages on your site, but for most small business websites, it should be pretty easy to scan through the results and make sure they all make sense. All right, as ever, I hope that was useful. If you've got any questions or any ideas for future videos or any comments at all, I'd really appreciate the feedback, and I'll see you next time.